What's up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. I'm here with Marshana, Dahlia, Spavento. This is part 2 of the 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After podcast, season 6, episode 3. So we're going to talk about Brandon and Julia. So fresh off of their Vegas vacation, they arrived back at the farm. Well, move back a bit. Betty opened the mail that came in Julia's name because it was from immigration, and she told them about this interview.
She had permission. She called first.
She called because she said what it was and who it was from. She wanted to open it. I feel like Betty is just always all up in the mix. They couldn't even enjoy the vacation. She had to call and ruin it with something to worry about. I don't like that. When you're on vacation, don't ever call someone and give them something to worry about. Let them worry about it when they get back.
Right.
All right, so Julia goes in for her interview. And another thing that I noticed I want to talk about real quick. Brandon said that they wanted documentation of Julia living in the U.S. and bills in her name. How would she have bills in her name if she can't work? That really caught me as odd.
But how do you even open up an account with a utility company if you don't have a social security number even?
I was so confused with that process. When he was explaining the process and he's like proving that she's a resident is proving that she has bills in her name. She's not a resident. She can't work. She has no social security number. She can't file taxes. That whole process seemed like a setup to me because he's not going to be able to produce that information. So it either he was misinformed or that's a complete setup. So right. She goes to her interview and there was no instant approval, which I found to be completely normal. I didn't know that anyone gets instant approval on anything. But they were really shocked because they felt that they wanted to know right away, which is understandable. You want to know if your wife has to leave the country or not, but that's not how it works. When you apply for these visas, there's long painstaking waiting and processing, and they don't ever tell you face to face. Everything is in a letter. Everything official from the government is in a letter certified to your house, blah, blah, blah. So I just feel like they're stressing over it and they're making it more than it is. I feel like if the interview went well, there's nothing to worry about. If there's no scamming going on, there's no fraud going on, there's nothing to really worry about.
I mean, the part that really struck me is that they were saying that the person who conducted their interview told them that there's now a new requirement, a new document or paperwork that needs to be submitted, right, that even they don't know what it is. And it's like, if you work here and you did the interview, how do you not know what? So that's the piece that really hit home for me, because I'm like, if the person who works there, and Julia even said it, right? If she doesn't know, how can we know? We don't know.
Yeah, it was very strange. The whole interview process was strange for them because I've seen it with Nicole and Azan and lots of different people. I think Danielle and Muhammad, I've watched the process with them. Very different this way around. So I was very interested in knowing what this new requirement is and how is it going to affect other people on the show and other people in general. What does it have to do with? What does it pertain to? Is this requirement hard to meet? That type of stuff. So we won't find out anytime soon. I mean, maybe next week. But we won't find out if she's still here or not. Don't go on Instagram. You might find out. But we'll find out soon. So let's talk about Tiffany and Ronald. So Tiffany canceled her ticket to South Africa to take her and her babies to see Ronald. And she used the money to get her own place because she was living with her mother's house. I personally think that was money well spent, and I am so proud of her of being an adult and doing the right thing for her kids.
Tiffany absolutely needed to get out of her, living with her mother and her grandmother. And I'm sure that it provided a sense of comfort because I'm positive they help her with 2 babies. But even with 2 babies that you need to take care of, maybe mother and grandmother and great grandmother can be somebody that visits, someone that you drop your kids off to, someone that you pick them up from, rather than being someplace that you live with. Yeah. The piece for me with Tiffany, and I tweeted this last night, and if you're not following us on Twitter, please do. We live tweet every show. Tiffany chose this life with Ronald. She picked her groom up from the rehab facility for his gambling problem, for his gambling addiction. He didn't have a job. He didn't have a career. He didn't even have a previous career path that he was on that maybe he got derailed from, that maybe he could pick back up. I cannot fathom what she anticipated married life with Ronald would be. I'm also going to remind her that she moved to South Africa. At least that's the guise she had us all under, that she was moving. And then when she got married there and pregnant there and life got a little uncomfortable, she came back to the United States. So I don't give Ronald much credit, but to his credit, he was not anticipating that his wife was going to be living with his child in another country that was very far away. So every time she complains about Ronald and it's all on me, it's all on me, I can't be the only one. I agree with Ronald. She was spiteful to cancel the tickets at the last minute without talking to him first. I think it was a move of manipulation. She strikes me as a little bit narcissistic. She married someone who she could control because she likes being in control and she likes the upper hand. But having the upper hand in these relationships, they come at a price. And that means usually that everything is all up to you. And now she is breaking under the weight of the marriage, being a parent again, being a single mom again, because as much as she's married to Ronald, she's a single mom. But it's hard for me to find empathy for her because she chose this life.
I actually agree. She knew ahead of time, and she's actually spoken with lawyers regarding the situation, and she knew it would be very difficult for him to come over here with his criminal history and the charges that he had, and he admitted to them. I think the lawyer said the fact that he didn't fight it and he admitted to them was going to make it even more difficult. So she was fully aware, and I tweeted about it last night. I was like, she basically picked up a puppy on the side of the road, and then she complains that the puppy can't walk. Well, you knew that the puppy was wounded when you picked it up. You still stopped, you still picked it up, and you nursed it back to health, and it's never going to be fully, healthy, but you picked it up. You knew what you were getting into, and I feel like that's what she did. She's wanting these expectations for him that he's never given her any expectation that he could meet.
Never. There's never been any indication that life would be any different than exactly how it is. So Ronald should get it together. He makes rand when he does work, rand to dollar. It's incomparable. She said that he spent $3,000 on his motorcycle, which does seem a bit selfish, but I feel like I need more context with that. Is that his only mode of transportation? Like, I'm not really sure. I don't really know. But Tiffany, this is the bed exactly as you made it.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about Andre and Libby. So fresh after asking Chuck for $100,000 of his hard-earned money, so Andre could then become his own competitor. Andre reluctantly took a job with Chuck after he was turned down for the $100,000 loan. And I was like, anybody would turn you down. A bank would laugh at you. So anybody would turn you down. So now he's being convinced by Libby that he needs to straighten things out with Charlie because they're going to be working together. Not only working together, but Charlie is going to be the one showing him the ropes of the business and how to actually maintain and fix these homes so they can be sold. And they actually sat down. And for the circumstances, I think it went really well. I felt like they both danced around apologies. Nobody ever apologized to anyone, but nobody threw anything. Nobody hit each other. I think it went well. How do you think it went?
Listen, someone trolled me last night, someone with absolutely nothing to do with their lives, and was like, this is the most stupidest, I think is what they called my tweet, because I tweeted that Charlie was way more dignified than Andre deserved. And they were like, well, I'm trying to find a nice way to find out to say that that's the most stupidest thing. And I'm like, okay, you have nothing better to do on a Sunday than to troll. But back to my original point, Charlie was really, really dignified. He was extremely dignified, I think, given the way that Andre has been disrespectful. I love that Charlie brought up the fact that, yeah, you're upset with what I said at the wedding, but a couple days prior to your wedding in Moldova, you tried to fight me and told me and my father to leave Moldova. So it was just his arrogance is beyond me. I don't even think he should have this opportunity off the strength of initially Chuck, remember several years ago, offered Andre to come and work in the family business. Yes. And Andre was like, no, you're going to hold things over my head. I don't want it. There's been so many times that he's wasted Chuck's money and opportunity. Mm-hmm. And remember, they all used to live in a house that Chuck owned and they weren't paying rent on. And all Chuck said was maintain the property, keep it up, cut the grass. And he wouldn't do it. And he made Libby move out and saying, oh, we don't need him. But Libby only had to turn right back around and ask her father to pay the rent on the place that they moved to because he had no job and no income. A waste of money and opportunity. Now when he decides, oh, I'm tired of being a stay-at-home dad, I need a job. the only place you have to turn is to go back to Chuck and his family. And you don't even want to be humble and express any humility in going back to Chuck to accept the offer, honestly, that was initially made to come and work in the family business. I agree with Charlie. And I'm Team Charlie, because Charlie, I'm the Charlie of my family. I'm the person who says, like, actually, real talk. I'm not going to sit here and be polite to you when you haven't been polite to us and do this dance of being the bigger person while, I'm being kicked, while my father's being kicked. No, listen, either we're going to be engaging by the same rules or we not at all. So he can't be polite and proper and Andre gets to be rude. I'm not here for it.
I agree. I feel like Andre is disrespectful. He's disrespectful to their family. He's inappreciative and ungrateful of what they do for him. And Charlie is the only one. Well, I mean, one of the other sisters does try to point it out, but Charlie is the only one vocally saying, look, if it wasn't for us, you would be back in your country broke and stupid and poor, just like you are now. Like, you need to show a little more respect and humility for what we're doing for you. And I actually agree. And I actually feel like this working together isn't going to work. Andre doesn't want to work.
No.
He's never going to do any work. He's been in America for over 3 years and he hasn't worked a day. He's never going to work. He's looking for ways to get money. He's a scammer. He scams people out of money, and that's what he does. He's figuring out a way to get money.
And if he's a scammer too. They scam together. They are co-conspirators in the scamation of the situation.
Libby is in his ear telling him how to scam her dad because she's been doing it for so long. They're exactly. A great team, and I respect the hustle. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I respect the hustle. If Chuck's stupid enough to let his daughter scam him and his daughter's wife scam him, scam him.
But, also, I will say this, like, Libby, she irritates me to no end because she tries to play both sides of the fence, but she does it in a way that actually causes more strife and doesn't bring about any resolution. And she's been scamming Chuck for a long time. And Andre has gotten as far with his scamming because she helps him. So I just feel like she needs a reality check. Andre needs a reality check. And if Chuck cuts you both off, you wouldn't know what to do. I don't know about you, George, but I know for sure I was not born into a family that had a family business that could not only sustain my father, but sustain all of his children and their families. That is a blessing here in any country, I think, but particularly here in America, to come into a family that has a family business that is successful, that can sustain not just one family, but sustain all these other nuclear families that have spawned off from it. That's a blessing. I've had to always go out and work and try to get it on my own.
Mm-hmm. I've had to work 2 jobs, so I wouldn't even know what that's like. So the fact that Libby takes advantage of it, it's crazy, because if it was in my family, I would show the utmost respect and dignity for my family's business. So on that note, let's end it for this week, and I cannot wait till next week. We're going to see how Angela's surgery went, and I can't wait to see what's going on with Tiffany and Ronald. So that's it for part 2. I'm George Mossey. This is Marshana, Dahlia, Spavento. This is the Happily Ever After podcast, part 2. Make sure you live tweet with us every Sunday night. I'll put our Twitters at the bottom. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Talk to you real soon.